Hello again. We are going to be in this video going through the USPAP compliance addendum and also as an alternative the USPAP identification addendum. The forms are basically the same, but in some cases we are required to they're in a different order and they're formatted differently for the computer purposes. So in some cases we're required to use the identification addendum as an alternative. So this one is just gets the regular compliance addendum. The appraisal report box is already marked as part of the template. The only time we would select restricted appraisal report is if we were working with a desktop assignment. So this section is complete. Nothing in the additional certification section to be done. The next section is the prior services section. This is where we disclose if the appraiser who's doing this appraisal has ever done an appraisal on this property before. So the way that you are going to determine that is you're going to go out to the appraisal desktop and you're going to type in the address of the report we're working on. In this case, only one report comes up, and it happens to be the one we're currently working on. So the answer to the question is no, the appraiser has not performed prior services on the property within 3 years immediately preceding acceptance of this assignment. If we had found another report, we would mark yes, I have performed prior services. And then we would come down here and write in, use this quick list, prior appraisal completed, and then we put in the month and the year. And that is where, just quickly going back, adding in that dash and the month and the year really helps. The only other thing is there are multiple appraisers doing reports. So you may have to check. You may have to open it up to see whether Natalie did the prior report or Kay did it. Because in some cases it could be that Kay did a prior assignment, but Natalie did not. So you would still say I have not. So you just have to be real careful there. The next section is property inspection. And the appraiser should typically always make an inspection. So we're just going to mark I have made a personal inspection of the property. And then appraisal assistance. You will not be required to do this, but if there were another appraiser or appraiser trainee happen to be watching this video, this is where you would enter in your name. I've got a couple up here that are just like, for instance, Anna was an old assistant and she assisted me with just simple research and data entry. She does not have a license, and so there's nothing there to disclose. So, and then Kay will help me sometimes. Sometimes she'll do the research for me. Sometimes she'll write up the analysis. Sometimes she'll even inspect a property, and then I have to go also inspect it. But if you're a trainee or another appraiser, you have to have your name, your license number, and then what you did to assist in the report. So that's just an example there. All right. Additional comments. Again, this is just if we've performed a prior assignment, you say the month and the year. And then the last section is the marketing time and exposure time. So we're going to select a reasonable exposure time is, and then we're going to skip over the marketing time. What I want you to do here is go back and look at two pieces of information. The first piece is going to be on page 1, and it's going to be in the neighborhood section. The unit housing trends, the marketing time, this line right here. Under 3 months, 3 to 6 months, or over 6 months. 3 to 6 months is 90 to 180 days. So that's the first piece of information I want you to get. The second is the days on market for the sales within this assignment. So We'll go to the side-by-side power view. And I just want you to look at the days on market for each of the comparables. In this case, the days on market are typically between about 120 days and 240 days. So there's one exception that's over 240. So what we're going to do is come back to the compliance addendum. And since all of the sales were kind of within that 120 to 240 window, we're going to enter that number there. If you have trouble determining what to go with, whether 90 to 180 or so forth, just use the sticky notes. Use it, click on that, drop it there, write in a sticky note about what your question is or why you had a hard time determining it. And that is it for the form. As an alternative, this report does not require the identification addendum, but I just want you to see them side by side. So I'm going to add it temporarily. Just looking at the form, you can see it's set up differently, but as we go through it, you'll see the information is the same. We have to select appraisal report or restricted. It's appraisal unless it's a desktop. We have to enter in the exposure time. On the other form, the exposure time is at the bottom. On this one, it's at the top. Either way, we're looking at the same two pieces of information, and we're trying to come up with the best. Usually they'll match. In this case, they didn't, so I'm going with the comps. Okay, and then the next section is the additional certifications. This is about prior services. I have or have not performed prior services. So same with the compliance addendum. Look up if this appraiser on this assignment has done this house before. In this case, the answer is no. I have not. And then the additional comments, again, this is where we would put in any assistance, or we would put in we would also put in, if the answer to this were yes, we would say prior appraisal completed, and then the month and year. And then if there were assistance, that person would add those comments there. So that's the alternative. They're, like I said, they're basically the same, just formatted differently. So that is going to be the end of the USPAP compliance addendum video. Thank you again, and just email if there's any questions.